Welcome everybody to another Salty Chillers Entertainment podcast. This is Hero Darkness.
Salt Logic.
Rich Numbers.
Valentine.
Red Renegade.
And today we'll be discussing how a community can help benefit or ruin a video game. So that's going to be our starting off question for our discussion tonight. So do you guys believe...
Sorry.
Do you guys believe that a community can help a video game, or can it help ruin the video game?
I say that's a 50-50. I'm giving that a solid 50-50, because that would depend on the game and the community themselves, because each one is different. Yeah, there's some communities that are, I want to say toxic, which I don't think they really have to do with anything based on the community as a whole. But that, it would have to depend on the community and the game itself, because each one is different.
I view it depends on the community itself, because each community is different depending on the game. Because some games the community can either make or break it.
Do you have an example of type of games or type of communities that can make or break a game?
Well, when a game... It's hard to explain that off my mind. I had it, but then it just slipped.
Okay, we can come back to you.
I say the Destiny community is one that can be used as an example. I want to say the Destiny 2 community as an example. Not saying that there's anything severely wrong. It's just that the community themselves is just so... not one-sided, it's just something they don't know what they want. Like, yes, you have people that are, casuals, and that's what's more what the game is centered for. But at the same time, you have the competitive people that wants the game to be similar to Destiny 1, in which will turn a lot of people away from Destiny 2 because it's more casual based, and a lot of people don't particularly like that. So that's one way that, it can be a negative effect on the game. And how it'll... Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying sometimes the community, especially if there's a game that's a sequel, and the communities want to keep that nostalgia, they can ruin the game because they want to keep the nostalgia from the previous title, and keep that in the game, and not allow the developers to try to do something different and go out and explore and touch on different aspects within the universe that they've created.
Restless.
Because I know that was a problem that happened in the Star Wars Battlefront community back in 2015, and once again back in 2017, with the releases of both the Star Wars Battlefront games by DICE and EA. They wanted the nostalgia of the 2005 Star Wars Battlefront 2 by Pandemic, and they wanted something like that, and they weren't receiving that type of game because they've had it in their mind that they wanted something like this with the awesome offline single player moment, but yet at the same time have this awesome multiplayer experience online. In the Star Wars Battlefront 2015, it fell flat. The 2017 did better, but they still received some backlash. Does Valentine have any thoughts on this question?
I know I'm quiet. I'm sorry. I think that a community can definitely make or break a game, but I have learned to appreciate communities and games rather than afraid of it. But I definitely think so. I also think that, well, we mentioned before the whole, like, could ruin a game. Like, I think that that's in the eye of the beholder. It really just kind of depends on if you like the game or not.
That is a valid
But
point.
I think it could.
You have some games, it's an amazing game. It is amazing, but then the community, because something ends up becoming toxic, and people stop playing the game because the community went toxic. Even the game is so totally amazing, the community gone toxic. I've never played one game along this line. I think was Undertale. I don't know much about the game, but if I've never cooked it, this is the correct game. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is Undertale?
Isn't Counter-Strike Go also another another game up there that's fairly toxic itself?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
that Call of
Absolutely.
Duty.
Yeah, definitely not toxic in that. Toxicity in that one. I put enough across all of them. I know that just the community itself is toxic.
And that's not to mention in just recent years, the past couple of years, back in 2015 when Overwatch came out, you can see the community
Oh,
in there
God.
is just as bad because they want you to play as a certain character and play it a certain way. And if you're not playing it a certain way, well then get out of here. You're not playing the character that we need, or don't you touch this character. Good examples, people don't care much for Widowmaker or Genji or anything like that because it was like, oh, he gets a hit. Genji, for example, he takes a hit and it's like, I need healing. And people don't like that. Or same thing with
I mean,
Hanzo.
the only classes that can take a hit is, the tanks, and that's just pretty self-explanatory. They're made to absorb a good bit of damage. But at the same time, their damage output is not that high either. So it's a trade-off. And vice versa with, other classes. People are just like... It's kind of one of those ones like, yeah, you know what? You want the game, it's your game, you should be able to play it as you want. You shouldn't be forced to play it a certain way because someone says like, oh no, you need to be playing with this or whatever. Because then that will ruin you wanting to play.
It's the general public for most things. Like, a lot of
Yeah.
people have an opinion and they're just like, well, that's my opinion, and it's totally baseless. Like, when we've talked about how my favorite game of all is just a solo game, like there's no online play, there's no nothing, and it's on the PS3, so it's archaic, but Alice Madness Returns. But it didn't get in a fanfare, so they didn't make another one, which is completely ridiculous. I thought it was like an amazing game, but a lot of people just thought it was too boring because it wasn't an MMO. It wasn't a game that like everybody can play all together.
People hold standards too high is what hurts a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that shows one way that community can ruin a game, in general. It's stuff along that line. Oh, you can have a game that you love, but because of the community, because of the way that other people receive it, yeah, it's just my opinion. It's just your opinion. You don't have to blast it everywhere for people to see. It's just something I don't like doing personally, but it's also something annoying. Because they're blasting the opinion about this game, and then people read that said opinion, and it could ruin people who think about getting the game not to get the game. And those who's been borderline is it good or bad could shift to one direction or the other if it's not a good opinion.
Mm-hmm. Precisely, like I think that it's kind of like Minecraft for me in reverse. Like, I really did not appreciate things about Minecraft, but I kept reading things about it and hearing things about it, and people are like, oh, it's so great. And so I tried it again just to see if if I was just being swayed by, maybe I just didn't have the right community or wasn't playing with the right people or something like that. But no, I just really don't appreciate Minecraft, and I think I'm just one of those like small percentage that just don't like to play it, but other people play it, and that's cool. I don't tell people like, oh, you shouldn't play Minecraft because of blah blah blah. At that point, it's like gossiping about a game, and that's annoying.
And
Yeah,
so
good.
going off of that, no. Most of this one I know where I'm at. I decided to go up, bring out my PS4 in the main lobby of said place, because a couple other friends do said thing. And I plugged in said game. I was like, why are you playing this game? It's like, dude, just stop. I'm playing the game because I want to. If I wanted your opinion, I would ask for your opinion. Just stop speaking. Is what I want to tell this guy. Like, this game, you should just stop playing this game so this game can actually finally die and people can find a better game. I just kept on ranting and raving. I'm like, seriously, dude? Seriously? I would come out here to play said game, and then you rant and raving about the game, about how you stopped playing the game because you got bored of it, and now you're trying to persuade me to do the exact same thing.
Just play what you enjoy. At that point.
Well, I really feel like the world is, like, especially America, is like thirsty for community. Like, we have all these social media things where like everybody has community, and we have MMOs, and we have like, it's just like everybody wants to connect and share their opinion, and it's just not, you don't have to bash a game just because you don't like it.
On the same note, though, if the game is, in your eyes, not good, and you talk to someone, don't thrust it down on them and say, hey, I don't like this game because XYZ, and it should just die. You don't like this game because it's not your personal playstyle. I remember picking up The Division, good game. After a while, I'm just like, I'm done with it. There's nothing for me to come back. And maybe because I was running with the wrong group of people. I found it when I was playing with one of my other friends, it was good. But when I was trying to run it with another set of friends that I first came across with, I didn't care much for it. I got tired of it. Got talking with one of my other friends, with me and him. He's like, man, I enjoyed the Division, it's good. I hope that when the sequel comes out, they don't do like what Destiny 2 did and ignored all their past achievements and accomplishments and just say, you know what, we're going to do something completely new, completely different, and just deal with it. Which then leads into the next question. If you know that you personally, you're not enjoying the game, but you wanted to see it to succeed, what would you suggest to that game that you would hopefully think that would improve the game?
I mean, for me, I guess we'll go with the one that's popular that I don't like, Minecraft. For me, it's the point of view. You're more successful and you succeed more if you go with the camera angle of like all you see are your arms. What is that called?
First
Where
person.
you like you first person. But I really, it bugs me that I can't see my character in front of me, and so that kind of ruins it for me. I mean, I think it's an option, but it's not really, you can't really play it very well
Viable.
unless you aim the cross at some things to destroy it or harvest it or what have you. But I would, if they could switch that, or at least make the what is it, third person, second person?
First and
person.
third.
Second person,
Second
more.
person game is a random event would be quite interesting.
You're right. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just used to playing like that. I'm used to seeing my character in front of me, so I'm really not successful in it, and so then it just gets frustrating for me, and I get annoyed with it. So for me,
Well, it's like, because playing in first person and then going to third person, there is a noticeable difference on how you're able to see what's around you. In third person, you can, be able to look around and kind of see a better view of the field around you. As the first person, you're kind of more limited to specifically the field of vision of your character, and that makes things a little bit more harder.
exactly, I can't see behind me and to the sides of me, and I think that's what ruins it for me, because it gets frustrating at that point. For me, just for me, as a personal opinion. I think, my son, he plays Minecraft all day long. He loves it, and he doesn't have a problem with going from Monster Hunter to Minecraft to Call of Duty or what have you, but for me, I just can't.
Adapt, it sounds like.
Yeah.
There's one game that comes to mind whenever I think of changes that were made. This is back in Star Wars Battlefront 2 2015. There was a game mode called Hero Hunt. Okay, no big deal. I go and play as the hero. Sweet. If I get the way this game mode evolved over the lifespan of the game. And so the way the game mode worked was, initially it was, alright, whoever gets the kill shot on the hero becomes the next hero. Alright, cool. Well, that made it where I'm not going to play aggressive. I'm going to let everybody else do the killing for me. And then I'm going to get the kill shot with the sniper rifle or with a rocket, what have you. And people are like, I'm not liking this. And so DICE was like, alright, what if we... And the community's like, what if you do, like, how much damage you put on, you have a Wheel of Fortune type thing, and then you get to play as the hero. Okay, yeah, sure, we'll do that. But it got to the point where you could be the player that has the most damage, but the guy who has like a sliver of damage gets it, and you're taking up 98% of the chart of the pie graph and of the Wheel of Fortune, and you're not getting it as the hero when you should have a higher chance. And so the community once again is like, we're not liking this. It's not fair for the person who has the most damage. And so DICE is like, alright, we'll do this then. Whoever has dealt the most damage to the hero will then become the hero, and then all your damage resets to 0 when you become the hero, so that way you aren't always being the hero every other turn if you die. And fans enjoyed that. But due to the lack of players playing the game mode, when Battlefront 2 released, that wasn't a game mode option. They removed it. I believe that's due in part because the players didn't care much the game mode and the amount of changes that had to go through just that it could be enjoyable. And so there's an instance in the game where the changes made the game mode better, but it wasn't enough to save the game mode in a sequel.
Yeah. I want to say, like, one instance, take Destiny 1, for instance, anyone who's played that. It took, what, 2 years before it finally got to where it was, and make it to where it's enjoyable across basically everything. There's a lot more variety, you're not stuck with, like, the same 1 or 2 weapons. There was a lot of things to do. Sorry, I got my haircut, right? With Year 1, there was not a lot of things different. There was like usually the 1 or 2 things that you always seen, and there wasn't a lot of variety. After, so much time of playing it, things became, very repetitive, and you didn't see a lot of... Oh my god, where's my train of thought going on that one?
You didn't see a lot of variety, nothing new to keep you coming back. It was the same still.
Yeah.
I would say, though, the Prison of Elders in Destiny 1 helped with the longevity for year 1. It wasn't until Taken King expansion where the game finally found its footing, and then when year 3 rolled around with the Rise of Iron, the
regained
game...
its footing, let's put it that way,
Yeah.
because it did lose a lot up until then.
And then when Rise of Iron came out, it really found its footing and found its stride, and it's like, this is Destiny. You felt accomplished, especially going into Destiny 2 when they had the whole year of Triumph going. You felt accomplished. Now, is that contributed to the developers and having finally enough stuff coming out, or is it due to the community saying, hey, we would like to see this happen, and they listen? And the things the community was suggesting improved the game. It built upon what was already there and not taking away from it.
I want to say it had to do more with the community themselves, because we all know the community can be very picky people that don't know what they want. In my opinion, there were a lot of things that Destiny 1 did that seemed really well, that really wasn't much of an issue. The thing was the community was so picky and they didn't know what they wanted that it hurt. No, okay, it didn't necessarily hurt the game, but the community themselves were not happy. Let's put it that way. They announce something new, people don't like it, but when in reality there's nothing truly wrong with what they introduced. The community just doesn't know, what they wanted.
But on the plus side, if there's something seriously wrong with the game and you have the strong backing of a community to fix whatever is seriously wrong with the game, then that can actually be a very strong voice, because it's, in the end, it's the people who are paying to keep your business alive. So you got to listen to them.
Thing is, there really wasn't a lot wrong at that time. Besides, just there wasn't a lot to keep people occupied from week to week.
And again, I wasn't a year 1 player. I came in around taking team time, but I can also, when that happened, I was a lot of content added, but I sort of understand the grind with Destiny 2 right now, because it feels like there is a lack of content in Destiny 2. Again, that's just me voicing my opinion.
Well, a lot of the community of Destiny 2 would agree with that, saying there's not a lot there. What's keeping me? Why am I coming back? And some of it's just due to the changes. Now, last week we talked about the developers should be allowed to do what they want and make a game that they want. And we're not saying that you as the community have to bow down to what they're saying. You do have that right to say, hey, this isn't working. Now, there is a right way and there is a wrong way about doing that. Because if you want the game to succeed and you want the game to be successful, then do it reasonably and do it respectively. Whether it's going to their forums and saying, hey, this isn't working. Don't go onto Twitter or any other site and says, people still play this game. That's not helping the game. That's not helping them fix it. It's just, oh, people still play this thing? I thought this game was broken and dead and forgotten about. No, if you want the game to succeed, address the issue and say, hey, bring this back, or try this. Let's see how this works. Because that's what happened in Battlefront 2. People didn't like the progression system. They didn't like the fact that it was locked away behind loot boxes and it felt like it was favored pay to win. Now, pay to win only happened for the first 2 weeks of the game, due to EA's early access that they do. After that, after the first 2 weeks were ended and the game officially released, when I picked it up, there was no loot boxes where I can go and pick and buy. I had to grind for it using in-game currency and nothing else. And it took till about March for the game to finally fix that progression, but that's because the community's like, this is broken, and not to mention the amount of backlash that they received. So Star Wars Battlefront 2 is better now than what it was at launch. Is there still issues in the game? Yes, but the progression system, that's fixed, that's better. And so there's an instance of a game correcting itself because of the community. Now, how much should the developers listen to the community? Should they listen to them, bow down to them, or should they listen to them and consider and look at what the community is asking and then do it if it's reasonable or if it will actually improve the game?
My thought is they should consider it. They shouldn't just throw it aside or just bow down to it, because sometimes the stuff that the community asks for isn't always the greatest. But most of the time that's what they want for, and they can look at it like, okay, what if we take this said idea here and implement this small portion of this said idea in this update here.
I want to hear Red Renegade's thoughts on this. He's been quiet for most of this. I feel like he's in agreement with a lot more. I do want to hear. I do want to hear his thoughts.
So my whole thing about, I'm going to use this game as an example about listening to a community, is Dead by Daylight. Surprisingly, that game has so many patches and so many tweaks to it. Like every time I started up, because of how people play and like their opinions and like how it can be improved. I remember before, a lot of people, whenever the nurse came out, they would play her like crazy, but then they stopped playing her because of an ability she has, which is to teleport, but she wasn't able to turn it off when she activated the teleport. And how it goes is you activate it, and then as you go a set distance, but you have to press it again to confirm it when to start the teleport.
That's
there's like the signal when she's about to teleport. She I think it was like she raised her hand. So people would just wait for her to raise her hand, then they would turn around and start running towards her. So then, because she couldn't cancel the teleport. But later on, they actually fixed that, and so now she's able to cancel it, and a lot more people are playing her again.
Do you feel like that improved the game?
Oh, very much. Nurses are scary again.
Now, one thing I do have to realize after this entire conversation, I realize we've been putting a lot of negativity into this conversation. I'm pretty sure there's bound to be some form of positivity somewhere.
Oh, I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm saying that it's a good thing about what the community is saying. Like, the game is becoming better.
Well, I'm just talking as like more of just our overall conversation. We've been bashing a lot on, games themselves, mainly because of the community. But I'm sure there's got to be some good somewhere.
I almost feel so that sometimes far in between with the games that we end up playing. I don't know, I haven't done much digging into the Monster Hunter World community. I actually want to go into it.
But Monster Hunter World community is actually great. But I think it's for the reason that you have to work together.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be. I'm curious to watch me kill this
There is no
myself.
PvP or anything like that. It's you work with a team.
It's only a PvE standpoint.
Yes. So I think that helps some.
But you do have the meta and whatnot, but when you join said quest, I don't know if the people who have SOS can kick people from quests so they don't have the weapons they want.
I actually haven't seen a lot of that happen before.
I've actually never seen that.
I've played previous Monster Hunters games, and that has never happened to me at all. I would always go into a mission, and it would be warm welcoming. We'd all work together as like a well-oiled machine.
Brothers in arms.
Yes.
I think that's why I like it so much. Because everybody
Because
works together.
yeah, at the end of the day, you all have to work together. That's basically the only way you can take down this monster.
It's us versus not us versus each other.
It's either you
But-
or another squad versus said monster.
Yeah. Now, I see, like, in terms of a community being a good community, is more of MMO games itself. Like, take Final Fantasy XIV, for instance. You have different classes and things like that that you kind of have to be, that you have to have a set amount of each class in order to make, you know, for instance, a dungeon, raid, trial, or whatever run smoothly. You have to work together as a team. If one person fails to do their job, such as the healer, for instance, if the healer's not doing their job, you're going to be doing a lot of wiping extremely fast because you will be taking a lot of damage depending on what you're actually fighting, and things will hurt. Take for instance, in this group I'm in, I asked if it was possible to solo some trials. Well, she made a comment saying that yes, but you have to be overgeared for it. Well, me being me, I decided to go in and say, okay, I wonder how bad this is. The fight maybe lasted about 10-15 seconds at most. Mainly because I'm not a class that can, one, take a lot of damage, two, the aggro is mainly focused on me, so I couldn't even back off to heal myself in any reasonable time, so I pretty much died without really giving the boss any form of run.
Can't you scratch me?
Yeah, that's really all that happens. I got one hit, and that was pretty much it. So it really depends on the game themselves. Can the community be positive or negative? Any MMO type thing like this, you, for the most part, depending on kind of which server and things you want. I heard that there were some servers or worlds that were not as friendly versus others. I have noticed that, and it does require a good amount of teamwork and things like that. And a good community will work together and will help you throughout the course and not shun you away because you're new.
One thing I've noticed in our conversation, though, the community brings up concerns of the game because they want it fixed. They're not bringing up the concerns because they want to be bad guys. They don't want to be toxic. They want to see the game succeed. They want what's best for the game. And sometimes it doesn't translate well, and sometimes it does. And sometimes the community itself is what drives games away and what makes the game suffer. There are other times where the community is successful and the game works and be successful. You can take some games and find an example. I'm pretty sure Rainbow Six Siege, when it first started out, wasn't what it is today, and it's probably gone through so many changes that you may not recognize the game anymore, but at the same time still feel familiar to it. I remember stepping away from the Division for a while, and I came back and I felt like Gandalf from Lord of the Rings, where I'm like, I'm not familiar with this place. It's different, but it's still familiar.
Yeah.
So there is positivity that comes from asking for the change, and so yes, the community can improve something, and sometimes the community can ruin it. It depends on how well you articulating it, how clear you are, and how you come across.
Yeah.
And if you're coming across clear, saying this is what it is and we're willing to talk about it, Bungie, for instance, with Destiny 2, they're bringing in some of the community, some well-known in the community, some not so well-known, into the community, to Bungie, to talk about, hey, we're thinking about this. What do you guys think? Or what do you guys and your fans are saying that follow you, what are they saying and what can we do to make this game work? Because Bungie wants their game to succeed. Bungie, it's like, yeah, we're thinking about bringing back the random worlds. We're thinking about maybe having another subclass. They can't say it outright because where they announced it at wasn't a reveal stream, but they were answering questions to the community, and that right there, to me, if any studio is being open and honest and talking to their fan base of what they want, of what's going on, then the game can be successful. But we as the community have to be cordial with them and be able to communicate well and effectively. Using Red Renegade example, the community's like, hey guys, the nurse, she's fun, but right now she's not fun to play. This needs to be fixed.
She's too easy to read when she does
Yeah,
this.
it got to the point to where nobody would play nurse, and they felt like that killer needed an upgrade. And so they did like the community said and gave her the ability. And as soon as they did that, everyone started playing nurse.
Is there any questions that any of you want to ask and hear my thoughts on?
I think
Well,
I'm
what do
good.
you think about like communities, and do you feel like, you know, it's just a public opinion and it'll ruin it, or do you like the idea that the community can kind of spearhead changes in the game?
Me personally, when it comes to a game and how the game is, it's all opinionated. You can try to be as objective as possible, but we're all going to be guilty of some biasism. For example, there's games where come out, I'm using Star Wars Battlefront 2015 for example. That game received from sources from the go-to guys an 8 out of 10, an 8.5 on the 10. But the game personally, to me, and most of the community is like, no, it should be more of a 6, it should be more of a 7, not the 8. This game's shallow, there's nothing there, it feels too arcadey, it caters too much to the casual player. And there's other games where the reviews are spot on, where they're like, yeah, it's not a good game. I'm using, for example, No Man's Sky. That game in and of itself isn't a good game, and there's no, oh, it's just my opinion. When the game was released, it didn't deliver to what we were sold on. Yes, it was fun to play for 5 minutes and then you're done and you're wondering what you were doing. And so the community was right on saying this game is not worth the money, and they got refunded back on the game. And so the studio that did No Man's Sky lost their money.
Oh wow.
Because there's so many, I'll go back and find it, but there's so many people that wanted their refunds that it caused the studio to tank, and I don't think that studio can do another game anymore because of how poorly they delivered on the game. Those are two instances. Another instance where Call of Duty Infinite Warfare came out, it was mixed. People enjoyed it and people just laughed at it and didn't bother with it, which caused Activision to look at their Call of Duty franchise and deliver us Call of Duty.
You said Infinite Warfare?
Infinite Warfare.
Or I don't. Infinite. Okay. Yeah, that and it, okay. Yeah. I remember which one Infinite Warfare was. Sorry, I didn't even play enough of that one or Advanced Warfare. I kind of got confused between the two, but no. Infinite Warfare, when multiplayer, played the multiplayer, in my opinion, it was straight up garbage. It was probably one of the worst things I played. I thoroughly did not enjoy it whatsoever. Therefore, I didn't at all. I probably don't even have 5 hours into Advanced Warfare as a whole. I did not enjoy it for much. I was putting more time in the remastered version of COD 4 than I did Infinite Warfare, and that was one of the main reasons why I had, gotten that anyway.
And so those are just instances where the game just didn't deliver. It couldn't deliver upon what it needed to be on. And so
I'm doing research on the company, and since that game, they have released another game, but every 2 years they have released a game, but I haven't seen a game since No Man's Skies.
And so those are my thoughts. Those are my things where the game can improve over time, but sometimes when that happens, it may be too little too late.
Yeah, it's kind of like in the instance of, like Alice Madness Returns, there wasn't enough fanfare, there wasn't enough, like, community behind it. So there's probably not going to be a next game for PS1. It's actually a beautiful game. If they put work into it and, like, made it for the PS4, I think it would be awesome. There would be this really creepy Alice game. But it just kind of got discontinued after that point because the community behind it was so small.
So I feel like the general consensus is it's all dependent on us as the community if the game can become successful if it has a bad start, or the game can continue improving and having success if we as the community are clear on what we want and we're all being respectful to each other. Am I correct in my statement based on what you guys are saying?
I think so.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning in and listening. This has been a Salty Chillers Entertainment podcast. This is Hero Darkness.
Thought Logic.
Which numbers?
Valentine.
And Red Renegade.
And always feel free to hit that subscribe button, like, comment below. And as always, stay salty.